Welcome to Custom Made in New York podcast, reminding women of their worth 1 week at a time. This show is dedicated to all women, custom made especially to win. I'm your host, Raven Joseph. Hey everyone, welcome back to Custom Made in New York podcast. I am your host, Raven Joseph, and this week on episode number 26, we are going to discuss setting boundaries in the workplace. For those of you who don't know, I am an educator. I'm actually going into my 9th year of teaching. And with all the chaos and everything like that, over the last couple of months, I've really shut myself out from watching the news besides social media because there are just so many changes day to day. And it's overwhelming to not know. And then like when you hear something, for me, it's like some things are like hard for me to change. I'm a creature of habit. So like seeing like it's going to be like this and then tomorrow they change it. It's just like I understand that we're in this time, but for my sanity, I've locked that all away, even emails or anything like that until this week because I need to know what I'm doing. Like, I don't want the guessing game. Like, just tell me what I need to do. I'm going to get it done kind of thing. So now that we're closer to starting, which is next week, and already for next week, they pushed back the date for us to report to back to work. But, yeah, these changes are overwhelming. And now that I'm sitting here, I need to really think about this new normal, like what it's going to look like, and really set boundaries for myself because for years, y'all know that I'm a recovering people pleaser. For years, I've always done the most. And now, when I say done the most, like I'm always saying yes, helping people, doing what I can for other people just to make things happen. I do really believe in my heart that it takes a village to raise a child. I do believe that all stakeholders should be included in supporting a child. Like I was having a conversation the other day with my friends in a group chat and they were talking about like education and how education's failing our students, which I highly disagree. I understand where they're coming from, but I don't agree with that at all. I believe that too many people are putting all the weight on teachers and saying that teachers are responsible for student success, and it's not the case. It's families, it's businesses, it's politicians, it's everyone in the community. Right? So that's my personal opinion. And being that I'm so much like, I so love to be involved and to help because I have my nonprofit, because I have my podcast, because have my candle business, because I have a family and a social life, I need to make sure that I'm setting boundaries so that I'm not burning out. Not that I don't care, because I know a lot of people don't do things because it's not in their job description, but I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying more so like I need to set boundaries so I don't burn myself out. So today I'm just going to share with you my experience with setting boundaries, and hopefully you can take from it. For years, just a little background, for years I worked at my first school. I worked there for 2 years and I actually left, not because I wanted to, but there were a series of principals that came in a year. I think it was 3 or 4. And that summer, the new principal that came in was letting go people who had a contract from the previous principal. We didn't have a union. I didn't even know that was possible. I had my contract, but it made me nervous, to stay there, because there was so much uncertainty, and I was very young. This was my first teaching job, and a lot of people, there were rumors saying like when a new principal comes in, they usually want to let go of old people so they can bring in who they want on their team, right? So I decided to go to another school. One of my boys got me an interview, and I got the job, and I worked there for 5 years. And I'm bringing this up because it goes into what I'm talking about with setting boundaries. So just remember what I said about working with my friends. Okay. So one of the boundaries that is very important for us to set, first and foremost, is that we need to make sure that we are responsible for ourselves, that we understand that we are responsible for our future. We're responsible for how we view certain situations, because our thoughts are everything. Our thoughts are what lead us to how we respond. Our thoughts are what lead us to who we want to become. So just keep that in mind, and hopefully by the end of this session, you'll understand where I'm coming from when I say that. Going back next week, I know, like, especially it's going to be the first couple of weeks, I know I have to set aside time at home to make sure that I'm not spending too much time on teacher duties. So for me, I know right now, as of right now, on Friday evenings from about 4 to 6:30, I will be finishing up any work that I have to do, and I'm done for the weekend. Like, I'm not doing the Sundays like I used to. I'm not doing all of that. So Friday by 6:30, I'm giving myself that time, even if I have to stay at work to finish my work, and then 6:30 I'm done until Monday morning. So that's me, and I will communicate. So if you have a boss that likes to send emails after hours, I hope you do not feel pressured to respond to those emails. I hope you are not that person. Well, don't be that person that has their emails on their phone. Like, I don't have any notifications for any of my work emails on my phone. I can access it, but it's turned off. So when I have time, I will look at it, because a lot of the times what we do anyway, we feel anxious when we read emails and we're around our family. Like, you can't answer that right now. Like, you have to be in a space where you're able to respond. And don't think that you have to respond right away to an email. Take time to process the information that's shared with you before you respond. And definitely find a time and to communicate that to your colleagues. Like, my co-teachers, I let them know, like, hey, I decided the only time I'm available after school would be on Fridays until 6:30, because that's when I'm lesson planning or anything like that. So if you have any questions for me, or you want to collab with me, or you want to work with me, those are mine. But any other time, I'm with family, so I won't be able to respond to any text messages or emails. I have a co-teacher, and because we work so closely, I do believe in giving them my phone number, but you don't have to. You don't have to. You can just be one to try to check your email as often. But say, for instance, they're not coming to work and you want to know, that, so you can change your day and things like that, or you're working on a project together, you want to know that. But at the same time, as you're giving someone your phone number, exchanging it, let them know, like, hey, these are the times that I'm available. So just in case I don't respond to you, don't take offense to it, but, that's my family time. A lot of times, especially my first year of teaching, I was at work at 6 a.m. and left work at 6 p.m. That actual October of my first year of teaching, I broke up with my boyfriend. And so, I put everything into my job. And I actually, at the end of the school year, I was pretty happy with my results, because 72% of my students passed the Regents. It was my first year of teaching. And by the end of the summertime, after summer school, 93% of those students passed altogether. So that counted for the whole year. And so that made me super excited that I worked so hard, but it took a lot out of me. I still don't understand to this day how I only had a 30-minute prep every day, and I was teaching 2 different classes. I don't know how that was possible, but I didn't have a union, and I needed a job. But I say this to say, like, many of us have families, we have relationships, we have things that we have, other responsibilities that we have to take care of. So if you're a person that knows that your time at work is limited, and you feel overwhelmed with your workload, make sure that you're not telling your colleagues or your boss that you can't do the work. Instead, there's a way to phrase it better, and it's just explaining, like, hey, this is what I'm working on right now. Like, I'm working on this project with the parent coordinator. And I'm speaking from a teacher perspective, but you can say it like this. I'm working on this project with the parent coordinator, and it's due X, Y, and Z date, and, it's going to take me this much time to finish it. Would it be possible for you to give me can I get overtime for this that you're asking me to do on top of this, so that I can stay late or do it? And if you don't have time for overtime, ask them, hey, do you want me to put this project to the side? Or do you want to assign this project to someone else so I can focus on the one that you're giving me right now? But you really have to weigh in the projects and the tasks that are given to you that aren't in your job description, right? So you can't see me doing the quotations, but I'm making quotations when I say that, because that is a well-known phrase. A lot of people say it. It irritates my nerves, but I think there's a way to go about things when it comes to that, because even if something is not in your job description, right? You have to look at it. Do I have time to do this, right? If you have time to do it, do I want to do this? Do I feel another question to ask yourself is, do I feel like I'm being pressed on to do this? When you feel like you're obligated to do something, that should be a sign for you to understand that you're not setting the right boundaries. If you feel like you can't say no, that should be a sign for you to understand that you're not setting boundaries. But if you have the time and this is something that you're interested in, then you can follow the steps. Like I said, maybe you don't have time and you need overtime. You understand? Or maybe you need permission to put aside another project so that you can focus on this. But if you are doing this and you don't mind doing it for the overtime, just make sure that it's something that helps you to build your resume. Sometimes we can do things just for the sake of helping someone else, and if this is a pattern, like if somebody's always pushing work on you or something like that, and it's not a once in a blue thing, then you're going to be that people pleaser that I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to help you avoid. So like, learn to say no. You don't have to explain yourself either as to why you're saying no. But if it does benefit you and you're not getting paid for overtime, and you can do it on your own time, and you can add it to your resume, then go ahead and do it. Like, why not? You know, and if it benefits the students or your clients, they're going to be happy, then go ahead. But if it's something that you mastered and you can't learn from this situation and it's just going to give you more of a headache, then just leave it alone. So in the beginning of this episode, I did mention that one of my boys, I call him my brother, he got me the interview at my second teaching position where I got the job, and I was there for 5 years. A lot of the people that were there were actually graduates of my college. Shout out to SUNY Portland. And we were very comfortable with each other. Like, we knew each other so well. Like, these are people that were in my building. Like, I was their RA once upon a time. Like, we had already had a relationship. So the comfortability of it, is that a word? Comfortability? Did I say that right? We were really comfortable with each other. That's what I mean. And so it was really hard to set boundaries at times with certain people, because they knew your personal business before you even arrived on the job. And because they were comfortable with you, some people that were new or didn't know you already kind of had a sense of who you are because of what people have said about you. So one of the really important things that I stress, and even with each job that I go into now, I keep my family life separate from my personal life. And nothing bad came out of it. Like, I never had any drama at my old job. Like, the most drama, like, and I put in quotations, like, that I had was really with co-teachers. But with my friends, like, the gossip and stuff, like, it really wasn't. But I saw how it played out with other people. And sometimes it could be intense. So, like, going into my new place of employment, when I left that job that I was working at for 5 years, I made it my business to make sure that I kept it professional and no one knew about my personal life. Eventually, I want to move up in education, and I want to practice that, setting those boundaries and not being too friendly, but being cordial, professional with other people, and not having to be friends. Like, I would hang out with my colleagues at my third teaching job. I would hang out with them. We would go to Applebee's. We have a good time. I would hear all the gossip, but I wasn't sharing my stuff, because you don't need to know my business. Like, these are not my friends. My first co-teacher that I had this last school year, because we're going into a new school year, this school year, he didn't even tell me he was leaving, and we were working. He was great. He was a great co-teacher. I found out after the fact that he was in law in his past life. And he got a law job, and I guess he left and he didn't tell anybody. Like, he left the Friday and never came back. But a lot of people were offended by it. And I guess they were offended because they actually had a work relationship. But I wasn't too much offended by it because I feel like he didn't owe me anything. And I think that a lot of times we get confused that people owe us anything when it comes to work. No, they came to do a job. They're going to do their job and they're going to go home. Like, we shouldn't feel obligated that, oh, because we work together, we're family. And I cut that out real quick. Like, once I left that second teaching job that I was working at for 5 years with my friends, I'm like, because I was so depressed for months after I left, I missed my students so much. I missed my friends. Like, I learned from that. I'm like, I don't want to ever get that connected. I want to go do a job. I can still be loving and passionate about what I do, but I don't have to be best friends or, be so attached to the people, because things change so much, so quickly, so easily. You can be here one day and then, the next day you're not. So don't get attached to your job. And I had to remind myself, it's not about the people, it's about the work. And I'm here to do the work, right? Do you ever have, or have you ever had someone at your workplace that when they're around, your whole mood just changes? Like, oh, I can't stand this person. Well, that's happened to me plenty of times, but I don't think, and one of the things that I would say to change, that I would have changed in my past experiences, is paying attention to really why I'm feeling that way. Like, when this person walked into the room, why did my whole mood change? What is it about this person? What is it about this situation? I can't even say this person because most of the time these people don't even know how you feel. It could be something that you're dealing with from your past, or, like something that they do, some action that they do that triggers you or just irritates you. Sometimes it's just best to put that on the table if it's appropriate. So say if for something like the way someone speaks to you, that's like, can be, frustrating to people. That's kind of why I left my last job, was because of the disrespect. It was a lot. And although I tried to address it, it wasn't effective. But just having that person come near me, like, just disgusted me. It irritated me. I was very annoyed. Like, my whole mood changed. And that's not healthy. Like, there should be no reason why somebody stands next to you and you feel like heated, literally heat coming through your body, running through your body because you're so irritated. So ask yourself why, try to figure out what it is. And if it has to do with work, then, and setting boundaries, then that's the time for you to take care of it. Remember, these people probably don't know. So it's your job to address it. They're never going to address it if they don't know what it is. And so if there is a conflict with someone, maybe they're stepping over their boundaries or doing something that's, inappropriate, you have to figure out a way to communicate that to them. So don't take what people do personally. Always remember that. And that's another thing that I wish I would have paid more attention to when I left that job, because the way this person was talking down to me, they were doing it to everybody. But it wasn't okay, but it was just like I was taking it personally. I should not have been taking that personally. There's no reason why I should be sitting in my car until 8 o'clock. So I don't even know what time I think it was 8 o'clock. I would be in my car. I could be in my car for a whole hour. I would not walk into that school building. I would stay late to get my lesson plans done. And I would walk in there when the bell rang. That's not Raven. That was not me as a teacher. I'm always there early, setting up, doing all these things, but I just did not want to be there. Not because of the students, because of the adults. That's crazy that I could allow someone to make me feel so bad. And so, like, I encourage you to not be like me and not take things personally and do your best. So if there is an issue and you feel like someone's not approachable, in my case, I did try to speak to several people about the way they were communicating that wasn't appropriate. They didn't want to hear it. So I went to another adult who's been teaching for over 20 years to, like, try to get some help on how to deal with the situation rather than, like, I didn't want to go to my supervisor. Like, I'm not a tattletailer, and it's not tattletaling. It's not snitching, because if you tried to speak to someone and they're just not trying to hear it. You're going to need somebody to either mediate the situation or, like for me, my next step was I went to another adult in the building. I knew she wasn't about gossip. So I felt really comfortable. She had been a mentor to me since I was there. And I knew she wasn't going to tell my business. Like, I knew she wasn't, so I trusted her to that. And she basically told me, like, this is how these people are, and they're not going to change. And that was, for me, it was just like, well, then F this. You know what I'm saying? Like, the students are noticing the behavior, and I'm seeing how administration's talking to people, how people are throwing each other under the bus. I'm seeing all of this, and I'm just like, this is not the space for me. Like, I've tried to mediate the situation. I've tried to have someone who should have mediated the situation help me out, but they weren't able to. I could have went to my supervisors, but I couldn't even trust them to really deal with the situation. Like, I didn't want any repercussions. I just wanted there to be understanding about how to communicate effectively, because I think that they needed training. They all needed training. Great people when it comes to students. They care so much. Very creative. I love being in a creative environment. But the tone, the nastiness every day is just, if I got to take it from these middle schoolers, I'm okay with that. They're children, so you're not going to get me out of character. But adults, it's a different story. So try to speak to the people in private, and if they're not willing to hear you or they're still not understanding what you're saying, feel free to bring a mediator into the room to communicate the situation. And it should be someone that is not taking sides, but is there to listen and to help both parties understand what the situation is and to best resolve it. When you're speaking to someone, make sure you're not attacking their character. If there's something that they are physically doing, then you need to let them know. When you do this, and don't say, oh, when you act, no, don't come at their character. That's not your business. Even if they are really whack, that's not your place to tell them. I'm pretty sure there are other people around you that sense that or feel that or see that, so you don't have to worry about expressing it. Let them know what they're doing and how it is affecting your work and therefore like the population you're serving. So for me, it's students, right? So my students are getting uncomfortable with the way that you're talking to me. Like, my advisory students coming up to me, are you getting along with such and such? Because why do you ask? Because the way she was talking to you, miss, like, why are you gonna, you know what I'm saying? So if other people are seeing it, I know I'm not bugging out, right? And usually when we feel a way, when somebody walks into the room, it's for a reason, and it's always good to address that. If you're going to be in a normal 40-hour, 60-hour work week for some of us, because we work a lot, we don't go home. But if you're going to be there working with people, it's really important for you to be healthy and set those healthy boundaries. So thinking about one of the things I feel like I did was I ran. At the end of the school year, I did plan on going back. I did. But I had actually done an interview for my YouTube channel, and like on the sidebar after the interview, I was talking to one of the girls that I interviewed, and she actually worked with me, and she's the one who told me like things that were going on the job and like about me that I didn't even know. And I'm just like, I really don't even know these people. I stick to the same people, and even though the people that I stick to, they don't know my personal business. They know nothing about me. I don't talk bad about anybody in there. Like when I say I was so new here, like I stay in my car. I barely, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting to know people, so I'll eat with them at lunch. But still, I'm not in the drama. So for all of that to be coming out, I was just like, I can't go back here. So I started looking for a job, and part of me was like, oh, I'm going to stay because my schedule for the upcoming year was bomb. Like, it was a perfect schedule. I was teaching reading. I teach history now, but I love teaching reading. Just the goals that we had, like the vision for the school was so dope. It was in my immediate community, helping like literally my neighbors, kids, was really exciting for me. But just hearing that, it kind of turned me off. And I'm lucky because I had a heavy resume with a lot of skills, I have one. And so it made it easy for me to get a job. So what I would say as other advice is to stop taking things personally if there are things that are going on in your workplace that you feel is toxic, and do your best to like build your resume, like find skills within your day that you're doing and start looking for a job. But also in the meantime, know that your experience is a stepping stone. It's a gateway for something better. And for years, I've had specific affirmations that I say. And when I was at my job for 5 years with my friends, I'm going to call it the 5 year job, I was making a certain amount of money. And it wasn't giving me the lifestyle that I wanted to live or that I deserved to live. And I did hear during my last semester there that I was supposed to be making more money because they were supposed to compensate me for the 2 years that I had done previously at my previous school. So that was about 10 grand, I want to say, more. And although I asked for it, I didn't get it. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but I was happy. I was happy there. I love my kids. I love the people I worked with. I was comfortable. Parents knew me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was so good. And it wasn't until I wasn't able to really pay my bills like I wanted to that I was just like, yeah, I gotta go. So being in that third school with this situation, it was just, again, I thought I was in a good location. It's an A school. It's in my community. It's like a 15-minute walk from my house. It was perfect. It was my neighbors. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, this is awesome. I've always wanted to work in the Department of Education. My dad has always wanted me to work here because they have a union, they have a pension, all these good things, security, job security, and it was whack. And now I'm at a place where I'm very content with where I'm happy. And now my salary is way better than it was just a year and a half ago. And I say this because we think sometimes we're in a situation and it's so terrible. But if it wasn't for this terrible situation, I wouldn't be where I am. So just think about your boundaries at the workplace, setting boundaries for yourself. Like I said before, we are responsible for our happiness. We can't control anybody else's behaviors, but we can control our own behavior. We can control our thoughts. So we have to pay attention to how we are looking at situations. Are we looking at it through a lens of our past experiences, which were unhealthy, or something that made us unhappy, or something that offended us? If you know what I'm saying? So we have to change our mindset and look at this situation. All right, I'm going to be a supervisor one day. So dealing with these toxic individuals, this is going to be something that I have to deal with, right? As a supervisor, I can't really pick and choose, who I'm supervising. I have to learn how to work with them. So that's one of my regrets, I would say, is that I'm happy where I'm at, but at the same time, I wish that instead of me being allowing it to make me depressed and sad, I wish that I would have looked at it as the opportunity to be better at communicating and solving problems with people. Because I was just, in my head, I was like, yo, I put in this many years already. I'm not saying like I worked decades in education, but it's just like I worked too hard to be stressed by people. You know what I'm saying? Like that don't really care about their actions. I should have been like, all right, this is the situation. I'm going to deal with this I'm going to try to deal with it the best that I can. I'm going to try all options because this is where I want to be in my future. So I'm going to end. I feel like I've been talking for too long. I'm sorry. I try to make these 15 minutes long, but yeah, this is the truth. Like, we need to make sure that we're setting boundaries for ourselves. We need to make sure that we're able to communicate, and that if we are not able to communicate, we find somebody to mediate it and find ways to say things in a positive manner, because when we're approaching someone or dealing with someone that is challenging, it's not the goal to make them upset. The goal is to get the message across to them. So always keep that in mind when you're talking to somebody. So that's why you don't want to attack their character, because they may take it personally and they may shut down and not even try to hear anything else that you're trying to say. Also, if you feel like right now you're in a situation where you need this job, and you have, you have a family or whatever it is that you need your job to survive, you should figure out some affirmations to say, that will help you, because we manifest what we say, what we think. They're all aligned. And if we keep telling ourselves our job is great, we're going to track that greatness. We're going to track that. So find an affirmation that works for you if you're dealing with a situation that you feel like you can't control at the moment, or you feel at a loss for, and I guarantee you, you'll see results. Okay, so just be patient with yourself and make sure that you set those boundaries. Anyway, thank you so much for listening this week to Custom Made in New York podcast. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me at custommadeinnyyork@gmail.com. If you aren't already, please follow my Instagram page. That's where I'm more active, at Custom Made in New York. I'll talk to you next week. Take care.